trends in business incubation. Well, and I'm going to give you here a brief history of how this sector has evolved in the States and what I view to be some of the larger future directions that I see evolving. In 1959, there was a tractor manufacturing facility closed that laid off 2,000 employees. Magazine Ferguson, a family purchased the facility and for a couple of years looked to find a corporation to come in to occupy the facility. And after being unsuccessful, the fairly entrepreneurial family divided the factory into different offices and invited entrepreneurs to come and become residents. And they offered some shared services to the entrepreneurs that were resident. And mostly it was clerical support, but it is, I think, an indication of the first instance of business incubation. But it really wasn't until the 80s where we saw a growth, a takeoff in the incubation industry. I think there was an increasing realization that chasing industry and manufacturing, I've heard it called by many people smokestack chasing. Smokestack chasing wasn't working. So there was a realization that entrepreneurship, homegrown businesses potentially had a greater potential than trying to woo so many competing choices industry. Also, the Small Business Administration at the federal government level started to offer seminars on business incubation as a model. As a consequence of that, not only publishing literature about it, but holding these seminars across the country, we went from about 20 openings annually in 1984 to 70 in 1987, from a base of about 14 in 1980. In Pennsylvania, one of our states, they developed a state model for developing the economy called the Ben Franklin program. And it inspired other states to develop for themselves an economic development model based on business incubation. That was another catalyst. And then we also saw Control Data, the CEO of that corporation, make an investment in business incubators that convinced several other corporations to follow suit. So what we are seeing is we had federal level support for incubation, state level support for incubation, we had corporate support for business incubation. Not mentioned here is the explosion in venture capital. And I also think that it's important to refer to the creation of the National Business Incubation Association. We also play an important role in developing business incubation because it's important, and we've certainly, I can tell you in detail if you wish, that this is an industry of linkages. I mean, you are going to talk amongst yourself, and you're going to learn from each other, and you're going to follow one another, and you're going to be more persuasive in your argumentation to different project sponsors for the experiences of your colleagues. And the amount of training programs we offer each year, educating so many people as we do, has been quite helpful. Today there's 1,100 incubators in North America. There are about 7,000 we estimate worldwide. And then if you squint a bit and you look at clusters and research parks and other innovation and knowledge infrastructure that's developed, it's even more than that. Because the United States is largely driven by grassroots activity, our government system is kind of oriented that way. Incubators differ and vary widely in their orientation, though there's a lot of behind-the-scenes similarities between them. Where is the future of business incubation going? Well, if you kind of follow from the history and you see where we're at today, you can almost imagine where we're going to go. One of the things that you're seeing is that there's more tailored service offerings that require the use of third parties, perhaps more than ever before. And you'll see an increased focus on that. There's going to be more competition between incubators, and in fact I've seen in some cities in the United States, like Cleveland, you might have 5 incubators within the city, and they have to compete with one another. They have to differentiate with one another. And my incubator is better than yours because I've got these assets in-house, or I have these exclusive resources at my call that they don't have. So differentiation through networking is going to be an important opportunity for you. Entrepreneurs will select your incubator over competitors based on what you bring to the table. Continued interest in clusters. We see that now, where only 4 years ago, nearly 60% of our incubators were mixed use. Now, it's different. Now, they're about 80 to 90% specialized on a particular sector. Because, again, there's the deepening of value addition. And if you have 25 entrepreneurs from the same general industry together, they're able to synergize and to grow from one another and to get excited about one another's offerings more effectively. More collaboration between investment groups and incubation programs. Indeed, in my travels to visit different incubators, the ones that have strong ties to the venture capital and the angel markets are the ones that clearly stand apart. They're in a different level of sophistication altogether. And sometimes the incubator managers have to create their own angel networks for this to happen. But a lot of the initiatives that I'm proposing to Washington, D.C. now are to help inspire these linkages by perhaps giving tax credits to venture capital firms that choose to make investments in incubated companies, as an example. Or providing subsidies in the form of organizational assistance grants to firms incubated that are purchasing third-party services. Those grants only being eligible to incubator managers that are sponsored by 2 or more venture capital firms. So it's important to have strong linkages with these communities. Linkages between incubators is also important, having networks, so that my company within this incubator, not only do I have a strong rapport with all of these 20 companies that reside here with me, but I'm also able to have some virtual network at the other incubators too. If there's a forum that brings all of these clients together within the network of incubators, then they're able to work together and develop more business opportunities. So these communities of entrepreneurs are effective, and they can be virtualized. But we're also seeing that along the southern border of the United States, that incubators in Texas, and New Mexico, Arizona, California, Florida, have relationships with incubators throughout Mexico. And the idea is you have channel relationships in different countries that allow you to commercialize your technologies elsewhere, or their technologies in your markets, or to develop bundled assemblies, perhaps, if it's a manufacturing type application. Virtual incubation it's been a kind of like a long-standing interest among incubator managers. There's some debate about whether virtual incubation can succeed. I happen to think that virtual incubation can succeed, but it offers a different kind of support. In a way, the NBIA, as a trade association, is a virtual incubator to incubators. We incubate incubators. We're virtual. We're located in Ohio, and from 66 countries, we have people that are learning about what they need to do from us. So we're effective to an extent. We will become more effective when we get closer to our members, just like you're more successful for having proximity to your entrepreneurs. entrepreneurs, we become more successful and get closer. More pre- and post-incubation services, and a recognition by government that incubation is working and it's a viable economic development strategy.